Episode 8, Fromage, written by Jennifer Schur and Brian Fuller, directed by Tim Hunter. We are reintroduced to Tobias Budge, cello tutor and owner of the Chordophone string shop, who appears to be making strings out of gut. Will meets with Alana in Wolf Trap, and we find out that he thinks he heard an injured animal. Hannibal continues to see Franklyn Foidevaux, who suspects his friend Tobias of being a psychopath. Will, Jack, and the FBI science squad attend a crime scene where an orchestra trombonist has been made into a string instrument. During Will's mental reenactment of the crime, he imagines Garrett Jacob Hobbs applauding from the audience as Will plays the cello man. Hannibal sees his psychiatrist Bedelia, where he speaks about wanting to give Franklyn a referral to see someone else, and Bedelia reveals that she tried to do so with Hannibal, but he refused, and that she was formerly attacked by a patient. During the autopsy, Will appears to still be experiencing a connection to the killer, who he believes to be a skilled musician. Hannibal and Will discuss the case, believing that perhaps the murder was a form of serenade to someone, perhaps to another killer. Hannibal visits Tobias's shop based on information from Franklyn, where they engage in an almost flirtatious conversation. Will suffers an auditory hallucination of an animal stuck in his chimney, and upon breaking it open, he is visited by Alana, who he ends up kissing, but despite reciprocating, she breaks away to say that they are bad for each other and leaves. Hannibal has Tobias over for dinner, where they are open to one another about being killers and intending to kill one another, but Tobias has a desire for companionship that Hannibal does not reciprocate. Will turns up unexpectedly, causing Tobias to flee unseen, to tell Hannibal about the kiss. Hannibal seems to agree with Alana's decision, but also decides to tell Will about Franklyn's concern over Tobias, giving him a lead to investigate. Hannibal confesses to Bedelia that although he has met someone who wishes to be his friend, he does not return the feeling, but the concept of friendship made him curious, and that he wishes to be friends with Will Graham despite being his patient. Will investigates Tobias at the Chordophone string shop with two police officers. He experiences another auditory hallucination and leaves to investigate. Upon returning to the shop, he finds that Tobias has killed the two officers. He gives chase and manages to shoot Tobias in the ear, but Tobias flees the scene. During Hannibal's next session with Franklyn, Tobias enters abruptly to confront them. Franklyn fails to soothe the situation and is killed by Hannibal before Tobias can get the chance. Hannibal and Tobias fight in the office, injuring one another, but culminating in the murder of Tobias Budge, which Hannibal successfully frames as self-defense when Jack Crawford comes to investigate. Hannibal is relieved to see that Will survived the attack in Tobias's shop, and Will expresses remorse for getting Hannibal involved in his world. The episode ends with Hannibal revealing to Bedelia that he shall be returning to practice after only a few days away after the ordeal, and he expresses false responsibility. Welcome to Fate and Circumstance, a Hannibal fan podcast. I am world's #1 Will Graham fan, and these are my friends. I am your host, Felix Fanfaron Fern, and these are my co-hosts.
I am co-host and friend, Melisa Suzan. Woo!
I am Shaira Bambi, and I don't actually have a friend.
Wow.
We have to see. Unrequited love like honey.
I'm questioning everything.
What is real?
Unrequited love like honey.
Right, when the next episode is just me and Felix, you guys know why.
We'll have like a mid-season fight. We are at the halfway point now, just FYI.
Yeah.
We have crossed over the threshold. We are making our way through season 1 at a great speed.
Longest dinner course of my life.
Nom 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 nom.
I'm not complaining.
I'll start with the generic question, which I, either last week or the week before, I didn't ask, which was very rude, which is, how did you find the episode?
I enjoyed it. It was really good. It was super, oh my god. Intense. I like seeing that it was more honey focused, and oh my god, seeing kind of a new honey like killer, pretty cool. Seeing Franklyn again was like, Franklyn, you little twat. I feel mean to him, but he's trying, like you say.
Oh, Franklyn.
Bless his heart, he's fucking annoying, isn't he?
Well, you don't have to worry about him anymore, so...
Oh, yeah, true.
But
Yeah, this is a good episode though. Very like cringy in a good way. Like I felt grossed out and weird, but like I liked it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've said it before, but it's like watching pimple popping videos. Like you're grossed out, you don't want to look, but you do carry on looking anyway. And if you don't, you're a liar.
It's an act of masochism.
Yeah. This episode was less gross than most, but yeah.
I think it depends on the person. Like, some people find some stuff grosser than others. I know to some people, the cello man is, like, very hard to look at, and to other people, it's like, ooh, that's cool.
I found it really cool.
I think he's neat. I like the cello man.
What about you, Melissa? Did that creep you out?
Yes. Very much so.
We're far more morbid than you, Melissa, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try to act all cool and hard, but actually, I am baby soft, and I like these things. I like watching it, but I'm just like at the same time.
It's good though because we get another point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be some sort of fucked up if I'm like enjoying this anyway.
We'll find that fucked up part of you yet.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
I'm here. That's a start.
We did lose our cheese person though.
We are no longer cheese folk, for our leader has gone.
Yes.
Rest in peace, Franklyn Frodoir.
Rest in peace.
Bless that man. Right, let's go on to talking points. So, first one is just carrying over from what we've been talking about for weeks now. So, in this episode, Will suffers from several auditory hallucinations. I think there's 3 big ones that happen in this. So far, the main theories that you two have had is that his increasing oddity could be a possible brain tumour, or from good old-fashioned PTSD. Are those theories you want to stick with, or do you have any other thoughts after this episode?
I don't know anymore, mate. I think maybe there's fucking acid in those pills he's popping.
It's not actually aspirin.
Oh wait, yeah. Were the pills just prescribed by? Did he get it from? Is there something that we find out that
script
the pills
tells us they are aspirin?
Oh, they are aspirin. Okay,
aspirin with a capital acid.
There weren't pills that were given by Hanny.
No.
Okay.
That we're aware of.
I don't know. No, I don't know. To be grounded, it's likely those, but in a more fantastical point of view, maybe it's his powers strengthening. Maybe he's becoming more empathetic.
He's becoming an empathetic beacon.
Maybe this whole thing is a hallucination, and he's gonna wake up. Yeah. and he's gonna wake up and be like, "Whoa, that was the biggest bong rip of my life," or something like that. I don't know. Maybe the whole thing is a hallucination, and these bits are like the reality, like having cracks in it, and
these are the things he's hearing during his coma.
Yeah, and everything's like creeping in, like reality and distortion world, whatever it is, and mixing in together, and then he's eventually going to wake up in hospital somewhere, or in an asylum, and next to him is Hannibal.
Fuck dream theories.
I've cracked the code, boys.
Yeah. Well, it feels like he's. I mean, well, he's very more like Hobbs, more closer to the killers. So yeah, it could be some form of PTSD in his own way, where he's almost reflecting the things that he's seen, or redreaming the things that he's seen. Because we see less of him sleeping and him dreaming it, or sleepwalking it. So maybe it's just bled into his real life now.
Yeah, it does seem to be like merging with his waking existence now.
Yeah.
I will so we mentioned this whilst we were watching the episode. This episode is the first time he's seen Jacob Hobbs in a while.
Yeah.
He did have the dream with Abigail where he imagined himself as her father.
Yeah.
And so there's a moment in this episode where he's speaking with Hannibal about the music that he hears when he closes his eyes.
Yeah.
And Hannibal asks, "What do you see behind closed eyes?" And then we see him see Hobbs again. Yeah. And Will Graham responds, "I see myself."
Maybe he's seeing both himself as Hobbs. So he's not differing it, but yeah.
See, my interpretation of that line was I assumed he was lying and not wanting to tell Hannibal.
Yeah, that was my first assumption.
Right?
Yeah, I think maybe that is both then. I think that where he sees himself as Hobbs and then sees himself, but he doesn't want to be specific about how himself is being presented in the way that he is seeing when he closes his eyes.
Well, he's denying Hobbs even playing a part.
I think it's just it's one of those things with trauma. It's obviously the first initial event that caused everything. Like, he started having all of this shit happen to him, these hallucinations, whether they're like visual or auditory. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I'm learning so many words from this, from doing this. It's great. It's an educational show. Whether it's one or the other, I think it's all happened from this initial experience that he had, which, to be honest, is, even though it's not that much considering everything else that's happened in the show, if you look at it matter-of-factually, it is a very crazy experience, a very, like, not common one at all. It's very weird to be in that position, and that's definitely gonna fuck you up, for life. So I feel like it's just because that was the initial thing that happened, and then everything's happened since that event. I feel like there's always going to be like a looming sort of haunt from Hobbs over him, because of this is what started it. This is the main thing, and maybe like the most powerful event to have happened to him. Maybe that's why it's always haunting him. And like we said before, we haven't seen him in ages. Like, pretty much almost forgot that he was a thing until he just came back. And I think that's one thing that trauma does a lot, even if you feel like you've moved past it, or there's other things that you're focusing on that's to do with your trauma responses, or even if you've just like really grown from your trauma and kind of worked through a lot, sometimes unexpectedly something will just randomly come back to you.
Yeah, that's kind of the essence of PTSD.
Yeah.
There is a script detail.
Ooh.
Which, changed my mind about how I felt about that question.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say it necessarily changes anything, but I think it adds another layer of depth to it. So, in the script, Hannibal answers the question, Will answers it, but in the middle, before Will answers, it says, Will considers how to answer Hannibal's question, then decides to do it honestly.
Oh.
So, when he says, I see myself, when he's thinking about Hobbs, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of scarier.
Yeah, that is scarier. Yeah. So he's definitely like feeling like he's definitely becoming the killer that he's kind of profiling.
Well, he's literally putting him, like, as the saying goes, he's putting himself into their shoes as he figures things out. And then there's also the other saying, if the shoe fits. He's literally doing so much of pretending to be something, he becomes something. A little bit of like Joker sort of, I don't know, syndrome, so to speak. He's just becoming who he's pretending to be or thinking of.
In one of the earlier episodes, I think it's like episode 2, when Hannibal is talking to him about the death of Hobbs, he says that he imagines doing things at the same time as him, and then confirms even after death. And I think that has never stopped, I think is kind of what this says. I think this goes quite well into the next talking point as well. So Jack Crawford thinks that it's becoming easier for Will to look at crime scenes. Given something like how he reacted to Abel Gideon's murder of the nurse, where, he gets very visibly upset. And then compared to how he reacts to this murder, where he's quite chill about it, and also the autopsy, where he gets a bit weird, like when he says, had to open you up to get a decent sound out of you.
Yeah.
Do you think that Jack is correct that he is finding it easier?
Yes and no. Because I think maybe it's becoming easier, not in a good way, because what kind of person says had to open you up to get a decent sound out of you? In the way in which he said it, like his tone of voice was very sinister, it was very low, and everyone weirdly just kind of looked at him and then looked at each other and were like, whatever. It's like probably with the kind of attitude of, oh, it's just Will, like they're just doing their job kind of thing. But I'm like, low-key, if someone said that, and we kind of knew him to be a little bit quote unquote different, then I'd be like, bestie, what did you just say and why did you say it like that? You know what I mean? Like I feel like American shows or these kind of characters in these situations, they do say sort of like these punchline one-liner kind of things, and they've all said it themselves before, but I feel like they say it in more of like a jokey, light-hearted way to kind of get across that it is a bit of a like tagline punchline joke, but the way he said it was like all serious and very like, I don't know, I was just a bit like, bestie, are you okay? Are you doing good? Do you need some water? Do you want a break? Because it was just a bit too serious, a bit too real. So that was one moment where I was like, kind of raised my eyebrows and was just a bit like, can we check Will, please? Is he all right?
Will is definitely not all right.
Yeah.
See, somehow I feel like Jack is in denial, because I also feel like even though he's visibly upset, he's showing a different kind of visibly upset. When he was sat in the autopsy room, you can tell he was kind of disassociating from it, and I think that is still a way to be upset, maybe a similar way to be upset that he was. He's like Jack. I feel like Jack's in denial that trying to find ways to deny the same pain he's causing Will that he caused. I forgot that. I personally forgot her name, unfortunately. Jack's old.
Oh, Miriam Lass.
Miriam Lass, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it was Miriam something, but yeah. Miriam Lass got little killed. Yeah. And then I also feel like it's getting easier for him because he's becoming, like Melissa's saying, he's becoming his killers, his profiling. It's hard not to. Like, I feel like I as someone who would describe themselves, I would hate saying it. I think it's just because who's quite empathetic. I do sometimes take on the personalities of other people, almost emulating them, just to see how, putting myself in their shoes. Obviously, I've never gone as far as Will to actually make myself think as thinking like other people. But at the same time, you do lose yourself at points. So maybe it's closer to that.
I think that's a really interesting aspect of it. So I was leaning more towards Melissa in that he has kind of found it a little bit easier, but I hadn't thought of the idea of it may be a form of disassociation, suggesting that his trauma is just manifesting in a different way. I think that's a really interesting way of seeing it.
Yeah.
Because he has enough different symptoms of PTSD, I think disassociation is probably going to be, as horrible as it is, one of the healthiest ones he could probably go for during a time like that.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of, maybe it's becoming easier for him in a way that he feels forced into it, so might as well just do it and now use a different, better mechanic of coping.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the outlier for that is what he says in the autopsy room. So my impression of that is it's essentially like he is, for that moment, reenacting outside of his head instead of inside of his head. So the moments when he becomes the killer are leaking out.
Yeah.
Because when he's speaking, that's, in my opinion, that's not Will speaking.
No.
Yeah. It does seem like he almost takes a bit of a different demeanour. And when he says that line about to get a good sound out of you, he is looking away. He's not really looking at anything.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
it's
really
very
weird.
Creepy.
Yeah. I don't think he was looking away, though. I think he's looked towards it at that point. But not directly at anyone.
Yeah, no, I think he was looking towards the corpse and thinking about it again, and what he, in inverted commas, had done, okay, what the killer had done.
Oh, yeah, true.
Which is weird.
Very weird.
Yeah, there's something leaking out of that boy.
Oh, wow.
Crossing over towards Hannibal. So last episode we had a bunch of friendship parallel stuff, and that carries on into this episode. They're almost like two parts of the same story. So we have friendship parallels with Will and Hannibal, Hannibal and Franklyn, Franklyn and Tobias, Tobias and Hannibal and Bedelia. There's a lot of like the common running theme between all of those is unrequited friendships. So do you think that Hannibal will be able to break the unrequited loop with Will? And do you think his desire for friendship, like when he speaks about Will to Bedelia, do you think that's genuine?
I only think Will eventually feel for friendship, because I think he's gonna, similar to the killers that he's been gravitating to. I'm not sure if gravitating is a good word, the best word for it. He'd gravitate to Hanny in that way, and so, and also I feel like they're friends already. Like even if both are like they haven't kind of like said it, they're friends already. Like you don't go driving. Well, you can do, but you don't go driving all the way back to your therapist when you've kissed a friend. It's like that's something that you will tell your friends first. So I feel like they're friends already in that term, but maybe not the kind of friends that Hanny wants, because obviously Hanny fancies him.
Yeah, I think it's very funny how the dynamic of them not knowing whether they're friends, their relationship is like friendly, basically informal, or like a business type of thing, in the sense of like just strictly doctor-patient, or not, because it's obviously very parallel to when people meet each other for the first time, they're chatting and they're like, oh, are we friends? Are we more than that? We haven't really established anything. What's going on here? And the question of like, are we just your therapist, or are we simply having conversation, I think is very funny to kind of balance that out with, the underlying things of like, are we friends or more than friends? Like, I think it's very funny. And I think it's neither. I think they don't have like maybe a proper friendship yet, or they're getting to that point, but it's not strictly just patient and doctor, because again, like you said, Shaira, no person is like going, oh, I've just kissed someone for the first time, I'm gonna go to my therapist and go run him up and like just appear at his house. And then at the same time, you wouldn't, as a doctor, just drop everything like for just a patient, like in that instance, like unless it's like an emergency and you can see they're having a bit of a crisis and they need to help them. That's the only time I guess that a doctor or a therapist would like drop everything. But for something where he's like happy and he's like, oh my god, I kissed Alana, like he's not gonna then be like, okay, let's talk about this in our next session. Like usually that would be the conversation, but no, he's like, yeah, come in, I've got dessert. Do you want dessert? Here's a fucking restaurant star quality fine dining dessert for you with fucking 5 elements on it. Like no one does that for just a fucking patient.
No, they don't.
I think it's a bit of a weird, like, I don't know, limbo of both just
will they, won't they?
Yeah, exactly, of like just a friendship or just patient doctor. I think it's amalgamation of both and then also neither. It's very fucking confusing.
I think there's different layers to it. So we know that they're definitely not just psychiatrist and patient. But they're also kind of like work colleagues at the same time, because the way that they discuss cases, again, is not like a psychiatrist and patient. It's more like practical advice.
Yeah.
But also, it's almost like Hannibal is being the Franklyn to Will in a little way, because Hannibal wants to reinforce the fact that Franklyn's behaviour as a patient is inappropriate and that he shouldn't be wanting to be closer to him outside of their professional relationship.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Hannibal, I think, wants Will to do that. Hannibal would be fine, more than fine, if Will did what Franklyn is doing. I think that would be Hannibal's best potential option or outcome. So, given the weird friendships going on, this episode introduces the idea of Tobias identifying and knowing what Hannibal is. So why doesn't Hannibal want to be friends with Tobias?
Maybe because they're too similar.
Recklessness.
Yeah, if he knows that he is a similar mind and a similar way in how they think and stuff, I think maybe that he wouldn't be able to trust him, because the way in which he creates relationships with other people, he's obviously like, he lies to everyone that he has in his life, even the people that he genuinely cares about. He's hiding like a big part of his life and everything. And I feel like if you have someone that is exactly the way that you are, sometimes it can not work out in that way, just because if in this instance, if they're exactly like you in the sense of, you know, a bit of a criminal, kills people, doesn't really tell anyone about it, then I feel like the first thing you're going to think is that they're going to double cross me. I can't trust you fully because I know exactly what you do.
I think Hannibal isn't as interested towards Tobias as he is Will. Like he said himself, his interest when the Will is interesting to him, and Tobias seems the same. Also, he said it again. He said himself that Tobias is that. Yeah. Also, I think it's mainly because I think there's a lot of Hannibal has a god complex, and God doesn't have those kind of friends. He has acolytes and admirers, and I don't feel like, it's something that he could be friends with Tobias, but then it feels like being friends with someone who's on the same level as you. Whereas, no, not for Hannibal. Hannibal is the god. Everyone else is his acolytes, and those acolytes are friends. But otherwise, yeah.
So, my sort of take on it comes from Hannibal's discussion with Bedelia about friendship. He explains the concept of Tobias as being someone who thinks the same way that he does, who has the same interests as him, but he doesn't want to be friends with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he describes Will, he says that Will is nothing like him, but he has the ability to think like him.
Yeah.
So I think, in a way, Tobias is too easy, whereas Will is a challenge, because we've kind of already seen that, because everything that Hannibal has kind of done in the series so far has been to subtly get the attention of Will without outing himself.
He does like the challenge.
Yeah, there's something about Hannibal where he's both trying to be covert, yet at the same time, everything he's doing is kind of saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. And that seems to be his weird obsession with Will. I think Will is more interesting because Will is a puzzle.
That brings up the question of if Will does put a hand of friendship towards Hanny, does that mean that Hanny's going to always come off of him?
Well, that's the thing. It's just, what happens if Will sees him fully?
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Big question, yeah.
It's a big, scary question.
It is a big, scary
question. We've seen what happened when Tobias saw him.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move away from that and into a question that I made incredibly vague on purpose to let you just speak about however you feel about the scene and what happened, which is Will and Alana. Did you see that coming?
No. I didn't like it.
Nope. I didn't like it either.
I thought that would probably be the initial reactions.
I thought it was going to be Hanny plus Alana. So I keep saying Hanny. It's not Hannibal to me. It's Hanny.
Plenty of fans call him Hanny. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought it would be Hanny and Lana, not the opposite.
Yeah, that feels a bit more natural. But is that because, psychopaths are just very good at being charming and flirty?
Maybe it's just probably because I see them to have daddy and mummy. But also, Will just seem too much of a bitch to do anything. So I didn't see it coming in that way.
No, I think the other way around. I feel like Alana was too much of a I think thinking too much about it, like Will said. I feel like if you're going to do that to someone, literally just go all the way at that point. Fair enough, obviously, if you're really, not wanting to, obviously boundaries are important. But I feel like it was obvious from what they were giving. They were both talking about being intimate. They were both kissing and they, stopped. They both wanted it. It was both consensual. So, I mean, in this sense, if you want it, just babe, just go for it. When she was just like, oh, I'm like this in a relationship. Oh, but it's just a kiss. Yeah, it is just a kiss. Get your pussy wet, fuck off. Like, just go and do it. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen. It's doable. You can just have a shag, leave, and that be it.
And, but remember, you're talking about someone with an empathy disorder.
Yeah.
Do you genuinely think that Will would be able to have sex with someone that he cares about and not have issues if it ended there?
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay, true. But, you know, it's life. Sometimes you do have a thing and then it eventually ends and that happens. And I think I think all parties would be absolutely fine. Even if there is a little bit of hurt along the way, it is the natural course of life. I think they should have done it if they felt that was right at the moment. Okay, she blew balls dim and left. She blew balls herself and left.
Maybe queer people are good at sleeping with your friends and then you know. But I don't feel like straight people are good at it.
Yeah. Not all of us. Not all of us are good at that, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Me saying that like I had a thing with my girlfriend and then she became my girlfriend and we're here 5.5 years later, so I can't really talk. But before that, I was a little bit of a fuckboy. So I had my moments, you know. I don't know. I feel like they should have done it if they wanted it. I love. I feel like they should have just done what they felt like they wanted to do. Did we see it coming? Absolutely not. However, I was mad at it because it didn't go any further. Had it gone further and they'd gone the whole full thing, I think I would have been like, fair play, besties, fair play. But because they didn't, I was like, oh, come on. You wanted it. You know? I was upset for them. That's where I'm getting at.
Valid. I don't know. I liked their flirting. The flirting was very fun to see, and it felt. But I came to see them as brother and sister, and it just felt like brother and sister kissing. Like they felt too close, and it just felt weird to me. So like, yeah.
No, you said it. I was like, oh.
You know, I think that's absolutely valid. I think it's difficult. I think that Will is in a very emotionally unstable and vulnerable position. So he's trying to find something solid to hold on to that isn't just Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that potentially could manifest itself into a romantic interest that might not be entirely genuine. Not to say that his feelings for Alana are like fake or anything, but because of the way that he is mentally, he's trying to find comfort in whatever he can, and I think that becomes Alana.
Yeah.
I think that Alana's decision to end it was the right thing to do, personally.
I thought it was a good decision as well.
Yeah, no, it's right, but sometimes the heart wants what the heart wants.
When I first watched this, it made me super uncomfortable, and I thought it was very weird and out of the blue, and it was very unexpected, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't like this, and I don't think they're right together, and that's very weird.
Yeah.
Having watched it a lot, I now feel a lot better about it, weirdly. And I think Alana reacts really well in that she's honest to herself in two different ways. One, she likes Will, she's attracted to Will, she doesn't deny it.
Yeah.
But she stops herself from letting it get any further because she knows it's bad for both of them.
Yeah.
And also, I just feel really sorry for Will. And I think it also makes sense why he immediately goes to Hannibal, because he's looking for comfort. Hannibal is the other form of comfort that he has. Hannibal is his paddle. Yeah, he loses the one he tries to get, so he immediately goes to seek support from the other source that he has, which is kind of sad. But also, in a weird way, also kind of romantic, and that he immediately goes to Hannibal.
Yeah, I kind of agree with him though. Alana is very kissable.
No, yeah.
Yeah, Alana's beautiful, so it's like no wonder they're both clearly attracted to her.
Yeah.
There's also, I think, something very interesting about the fact that they're both attracted to her. When, again, they are the main two characters who have this weird overlapping, mirroring two sides of the coin thing going on.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting having Alana in the middle of that.
Very much.
Interesting.
Interesting. Hopefully we will know more about it in the next couple of episodes.
Maybe you will. I'll never tell. So we're going to slip back to Hannibal and Tobias a little bit, because it also kind of merges in with Will. So Hannibal knows that Tobias is the murderer of the trombonist. What do you think Hannibal's motive was for sending Will after him? Why do you think he tells him, gives him a tip-off to get him to go for him?
Why for the inconvenience, I feel like. And what I said previously, Tobias is too similar. Also, Tobias could become an obstacle between him and his real friends, or the people he wants as friends, like Will, so it could be. And then again, reckless. Tobias is reckless. But I wrote down, all I did is that Tobias is boring to him in big letters.
So, do you think he sent Will after him to get Tobias in trouble, essentially?
Yeah, pretty much to get rid of him. I think that's the read that I have. There is more to it, probably. But like, I don't think he'd want Will to die. So it's good. So it's not something that he'd want in that case. So, and especially because his face was so sad when, like, oh my god, Tobias, he killed 2 people. Who was it? Not my boyfriend, is it?
Yeah, when he hears that encounter resulted in 2 people getting murdered, Hannibal legitimately is kind of like, oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck, my boyfriend. Or the person I like. I think it's purely to just get rid of him. But there could be more. And you probably tell me more.
I have thoughts, don't you worry.
Oh, now I've got like a million different things going in my head, because I don't know if it was a part of his original plan, because Hannibal is so smart and he's always thinking like 50 steps ahead of everyone else. Maybe this was like everything that he thought would happen, including Tobias like coming into his office and everything. So maybe he planned it so that, he would have a good cover story or something, because he eventually wanted to kill him. Maybe he wanted to get rid of Will so that he would stop feeling these conflicted feelings about wanting to actually be his friend, because, he's feeling like real human emotions and he's like, no, I can't have that. I'm a cannibal. I can't have real connections with anybody. And maybe he sent him off to potentially get killed so that he wouldn't have to deal with him. And then when he's like, oh yeah, 2 people got killed, and he's looking like, oh, did it work? Oh no, now I actually feel bad about it. Oh shit, I feel emotions or something. Or I don't know, maybe he just did it as part of his plan but didn't really think about it, and maybe he thought like Will would be smart enough to get his way out of the situation, didn't really think about his safety. And then maybe that kind of moment of like, oh fuck, when he looks away when they say about people being killed, maybe he's like, oh shit, like, what have I done? I don't know. So maybe he was trying to get rid of him, or it was part of his plan so that he could have Tobias come to his office and then he could kill him himself, or gauge out the situation. Because he said before that he wanted to kill him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe this was part of an elaborate plan to kill him, or to just gauge how he would be in that moment, and then either kill him or figure a business relationship out of some sort. Yeah, so either to kill Tobias or to kill Will, I feel like. Too long, didn't read. Sorry, I yap. I mean, that is the point of a podcast.
Yeah, that's the point.
That's what we're here for. The podcast, exactly.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Would you like to know my personal theory?
Of course.
Yes,
every time.
My conspiracy theories. So when Hannibal is speaking with Bedelia about the concept of friendship, and they're talking about Will's ability to profile, and Bedelia says to Hannibal, "It's nice when someone sees us, Hannibal, or has the ability to see us. It requires trust. Trust is difficult for you." Hannibal says, "You've helped me to understand, or to better understand what I want in a friendship and what I don't." And Bedelia says, "Someone worthy of your friendship." And Hannibal kind of thinks about it for a second and then says, "Yes." And then Bedelia says, "You spend a lot of time building walls, Hannibal. It's natural to want to see if someone is clever enough to climb over them." So my personal theory is he sends Will after him because it's a challenge. He wants to know the capabilities of Will, what he can survive and what he can do when he's put up against something more difficult. He wants to know if he's worthy of his friendship. Like, he already likes him, he's already interested in him, but that doesn't mean that he's there yet.
Send him a bloody Sudoku or a crossword, not fucking to his potential death.
Like God testing his subjects.
Christ,
that's very
literally.
That's a very cool way of
thinking. Bit extreme though. I'm gonna see if you die in the hands of a murderer.
It is Hannibal. Hannibal would put a lot of people through extremes.
Yeah, no, that's what I am convinced of.
That's a good theory.
Yeah, fucked up, but yeah.
I mean, again, it's Hannibal.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it makes sense.
I think one of the reasons that he says I was worried you were dead when he sees Will in the office, because I don't think he at that point expects Will to walk into his office at the end. And I think he's genuine in that moment. I think he has a sudden, quiet little realization of what he had done, and that his risk-taking could have actually had a very bad outcome that he hadn't necessarily thought of, because he's too cocky. And I think he did assume... Yeah, I think he assumed Will would be fine. And he was. Mm-hmm. Hannibal was right. But there's a moment where he has a little flicker of doubt that he could have lost the thing that he's been so invested in.
Yeah.
Just this love.
There's a script detail of that scene that is not in the episode that makes me sad, and I wish it was. Which is when Will goes to sit on the desk and is talking to injured Hannibal. It says, Jack moves off to study the crime scene as Will sits, taking gauze from a medkit and dabbing Hannibal's bloody forehead.
That would have been
so upset.
I'm really annoyed. I feel like they're taking out the gay.
There is a lot of
Give us gay
moments of physical intimacy that they do not have. It is sad.
We want the gay.
The script does confirm as well, Hannibal is visibly relieved to see Will alive and well.
Hey, why?
Oh, there is... I'd completely forgotten this, actually. Another one is just before that. Before Will walks in and he hears that 2 men have been murdered, it says Hannibal blinks at that. Could he have murdered Will? So yeah, he does have a moment there.
Like, oh shit!
There's another script detail I'd forgotten about, which is after he tells Will about Tobias, it says Hannibal innocently sending Will into the lion's den. So yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. The little
shit. Yeah, good catch.
Dickhead.
So I don't have a lot of trivia for this episode, which is why I haven't been giving little bits in between. I'm just going to throw it all towards you at the end, because it's not much. There's little things like the cooking. So I said I would talk about cooking more. It's not that interesting.
Nom.
Yeah, we don't really see it. The main course that Hannibal and Tobias have is sausage and mussel paella served in a crab carapace with salted baby
starfruit. My favourite food.
Starfruit for the dessert. Yeah.
Yes.
Janice Poon, in her blog about the main course, said something really cool, which is she described crabs as evasive and easily provoked, deking to his right as you lunge to his left, as like a mention as to the fight that comes afterwards.
Yeah,
so that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to tie in crabs. And then, dessert is individual bread puddings with a shit ton of fruit.
Yes, and one of them is starfruit.
Starfruit and rambutans and mangosteen. All interesting fruits. Other little bit of all the fruits. Did you?
Come on, I'm allergic to.
Don't have those fruits.
No, I won't.
In the scene where Garrett Jacob Hobbs is clapping in the theatre, did you recognise that at all? Did it look familiar? Maybe, I don't know if you've seen any particular memes that might have looked similar to someone clapping alone in a theatre.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So most people tend to think of Shia LaBeouf. That is a parody or an homage to Citizen Kane. It's Orson Welles' character, Charles Foster Kane, is in the theatre. His wife is performing an opera on stage and getting a bad reception from the audience, so he starts clapping really angrily by himself, and that's... I haven't read anything to confirm that the Garrett Jacob Hobbs thing is an homage, but it very clearly is.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so fun little Citizen Kane reference in there. And then the last piece of trivia that I've been alluding to poor Shaira and Melisa, that I think I've been putting off every week and trying to avoid looking for it because it's just a thing. Cannibal has various interesting pieces of artwork in his home. He has like traditional Japanese prints, he's got swords, samurai armor, and an absolute shit ton of paintings. There is one...
And horns.
And horns, yeah. Oh, he's got horns, antlers, all sorts of animal stuff around his house.
Yeah.
There is one particular piece of artwork that is hung up in his dining room that is a copy of Leda and the Swan. There are many different versions of Leda and the Swan. This is specifically a Francois Boucher version, which is a Rococo piece. So in season 1, you could see that painting at various different times because NBC didn't catch how explicit it was. In season 2, it is always censored or obscured because they glommed on to the fact that there should not be a painting of a woman's open vulva with a swan very clearly about to perform cunnilingus on a woman.
It's art. You could just...
It is. It's art. However, it is unsurprisingly a controversial subject. So I don't know if you know anything about Leda and the Swan.
I unfortunately don't know. I thought it was based on Queen Elizabeth and love swans.
That I think actually be more disturbing. But funnier. So you all know about Zeus a little bit, right?
Oh god.
Zeus loves to disguise himself as animals.
Oh no! No, Zeus, no!
That swan is Zeus. So Leda was a Spartan queen, and that was one of Zeus's many attempts at we are going to use the word seduced. Because any other word I would probably have to bleep from the podcast.
Yeah.
So this is Zeus seducing Leda. So this particular painting is Rococo, which is the 1700s, I believe. If I'm wrong, don't correct me. However, most well-known paintings of Leda and the Swan are actually from the Italian Renaissance, so 1500s. There are various different pieces for depicting the mythos, and theirs were kind of like this Rococo version, very erotic in nature. Not all paintings of it erotic. Some that's a thing you see a lot with Greek mythology in art. A lot of more brutal stories are depicted as erotic, and in the Italian Renaissance that was very common. So things like Leonardo da Vinci did a depiction of it. That's been either lost or destroyed. There's various other versions that were very famous. They've pretty much all been lost or destroyed for one reason or another, and a lot of them is censorship. So some just fun little facts about that is Hannibal very clearly likes the Italian Renaissance, even though this version is Rococo, and a copy of Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of it is in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. And that won't mean anything to you yet, but Florence and the Uffizi Gallery is a special location to Hannibal. So it's interesting to have an allusion to something in Florence inside his home.
Rather than a deeper meaning to it then, because I thought something like I thought he'd have something like that in Devouring the Sun,
which would be I would not be surprised at all if Hannibal had that in his home.
Super on the nose, but yeah.
Sometimes Hannibal is though. Remember the cannibal jokes at dinner and stuff. He's got a thing for being obvious out in the open where people can't recognize it. So I think that would actually be very appropriate.
That's true.
If that painting is, seducing, why would Hannibal have that? That makes no sense to me because that's fucked up.
Well, so Hannibal has a penchant for Greek mythology in general. I won't spoil some things he talks about later on, but he's very into Greek mythology, and it's something that comes up time and time again throughout the series. So I would think, I think that Hannibal is someone who probably just doesn't see it as controversial. Again, he likes the Italian Renaissance, so he may see it as more erotic. There are different interpretations of Greek mythology where sometimes where things are seen as not consensual, other interpretations of the story will see them as a consensual seduction.
Okay.
Which one is correct, I couldn't tell you.
Valid.
But
I wonder.
Yep.
I wonder if he's read The Secret History Book, which is a big book that I love, and it's all about. It's dark academia, but it is very much all about people studying Greek mythology and getting raptured into the Greek mythology in a way that it affects their daily lives.
I mean, that sounds like something that would be up Hannibal Street.
Yeah.
There's a very common
one of my favorite books.
There's a piece of mythology that I don't think is ever brought up in Hannibal, or at least not in the TV series, that a lot of fans love to mention a lot, which is kind of similar, which is the story of Zeus and Ganymede, which I don't know if you know that.
Yes.
No.
Yeah,
so for Melissa and also people listening, it's kind of similar. It's another seduction. However, Ganymede was meant to be, he was a Trojan prince, and he was supposed to be the most beautiful mortal to have ever existed. So Zeus kidnapped him disguised as an eagle.
Oh, okay.
So another bird seduction.
So
only this
dark.
time, yeah. But a lot of people like to compare Will to Ganymede. Because Hannibal is so obsessed with him, Zeus became obsessed with the mortal Ganymede, the idea of seeing someone so beautiful. And Ganymede is often depicted as pale white with curly brown hair.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Does Hannibal, with his god complex, maybe also consider himself almighty like Zeus? Maybe. Maybe it's not just Christian gods. So, yeah, that's more fun stuff about Hannibal and the weirdness. So now, whenever you watch the episodes, you can keep an eye out for the creepy painting in the room.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye out for the other painting.
Well, there's so much more artwork. I don't know if any of it has any particular standout. I mean, there's a lot of Japanese artwork in his bedroom and decor outside his bedroom and stuff like that, which is to do with his upbringing with his Japanese aunt. So there's stuff like that as well. So a lot of it is connected to Hannibal and his history. So in theory, if you spot things, they may have some kind of connection to him and have some kind of meaning.
Yeah, I just not looked into that. Like we look in very deep for that, me and Melissa, but I've just not looked at the paintings.
I don't blame you. Again, I keep forgetting about it every week, and it was only this week where I was finally like, I'm gonna look for it. And I will find it, and you can see it clearly in this episode. So I finally thought, I'll stop putting it off, and I will talk about the bloody swan. And we did. So let's go on to our ending-y bits. Shaira went first last week, so this time it is Melissa's turn.
Okie dokie. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my favourite portion of the podcast, which is our favourite stuffs. Okay. So my favourite, it went really quiet. I was so okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry everyone who's wearing headphones. Okay. Favourite quote is Hannibal to Tobias. I didn't poison you, Tobias. I wouldn't do that to the food. Fucking real.
He's a cheeky bitch.
He's so real for that. Because same.
Food is love.
Food is everything. Food is more important than fucking the way I'm going to kill you.
Food is life. You eat it and you live, as he says in all the other episodes.
Exactly. Don't disrespect my food. I wouldn't disrespect my food by putting poison in it. I'll be more graceful than that if I'm going to kill you. This is when this is taken like out of context. And my favourite moment, as we've already discussed, is Will coming to tell Hannibal that he kissed Alana. It's kind of like two girlies like immediately just going over to the best friend's house. I say girlies in like, you know, in like a matter of fact state of mind way rather than gender way.
Yeah, you're not misgendering Will and Hannibal.
Yeah. It's sort of like besties, like, you know, guys, that kind of thing. And two girlies like going like, oh, left Alana, and he's like, "Oh my god, tell me everything. Have some dessert, babe." It's just really funny. I don't know. I just thought it was quite hilarious that it's almost the dynamic of like, you know, big burly man is on like business meetings. He's like fucking criminal dude, and he's like having like a really serious talk of like, you were gonna kill me, I was gonna kill you. What's happening right now? Fucking, and he's like, I wasn't expecting anyone, and just stops everything, right, to go and tend to his little baby Will, and he's really excited about his little boyfriend's coming home from wherever, and he's like had such a good day, and he's listening to everything, whilst the criminal guy had just jumped out his bloody window, and like, he just puts all of that on hold for Will to tell him about like this little kiss that he had. I just find it so funny, the dynamic of like criminal dude maybe facing death right now. No, hang on, put a sock in it. I was about to say put a cock in it. Put a sock and a cock in it.
That's what fanfiction's for.
Exactly. Put a cock in a sock and then put the sock in your mouth. I'm gonna go and talk to my Will. My Will's just turned up. I just find that so funny.
Attend to the baby.
Yeah. What do I think's gonna happen in the next episode? Ooh, I think that Alana and Hannibal are gonna talk about the kiss, and Hannibal's gonna be like, "Babe, you didn't want that to be me." Oh, and then obviously gay sex. I'm just gonna keep holding out until I'm proven wrong. Nobody tell me otherwise. Otherwise, I will come for you.
No spoilers from me.
Yep. And that is my favourites. Over to you, Shaira.
Thank you. My favourite is because I laughed at this. I shouldn't have laughed at this because it was so weird. But we've already mentioned it, and it just had to open you up to get a decent sound of the
Yeah.
I liked that because it just made me laugh the first time I watched it.
Open what, your legs? Sorry.
I like it. I liked it mostly because it's like, oh damn, Will's getting dark.
Yeah. Or sexy, however we want to look at it.
And it was like spicy. It's like, dang. But it was also, I just laughed at it. I mainly laughed at it. It was, I laughed at it the first time. It's like, what that was. It caught me off guard. As we were talking about, it's very weird. But yeah, two, because it was sexy. And then three, because I just enjoyed that line. It was a funny line. It was, and also everyone's look, Keller's look, Beverly's look. I keep forgetting the other guy's name now because I just.
Wait, who did you say? Who didn't you say?
Keller. I said Keller and Beverly.
Oh yes, Beverly Katz, Brian Zeller, and Jimmy Price.
Yes, Jimmy Price. Yes, Jimmy. Keller's boyfriend. I'm just shipping everyone now, aren't I?
Oh, trust me, you are definitely not the only one to ship those two.
Good. My favorite moment was at the end of the episode. I just really like seeing Hannibal or Hanny so vulnerable. I really like seeing not end of the episode, but the end of the episode was between me and Dr. Bedalia.
You mean
Bedalia?
Yeah, the scene before that in the office.
Yes, the scene before that in the office with Will. The just after the fight, I really enjoyed that scene because it was Hannibal being a bit more vulnerable. It was the interaction between Will and him. It was super cute. It was adorable. It was like, oh,
So beautiful.
Like, oh, I was like, just hug already.
Yes.
Just love each other and a kiss. Give us gay sex, like Melissa says.
And
now kiss. And yeah, I'm so sad that they took out the physical affection with the cause. Yeah, but that would have been super cute. But yeah, that was my favorite thing. And just seeing Hannibal like, phew, my boyfriend's safe. So he put him in that situation. My next predictions: another Hanny killer. I think another Hannibal-like killer. Because I feel like these episodes, the last episode is going to focus more on Hannibal, and like another Hannibal killer. But then that also ties in to we got to fill Tobias' spot for the cannibal ring in. Like we need more members for the cannibal ring. God damn it, it's getting smaller. But yes, going to see more about the cannibal ring. Over to you, Felix.
So before I give my favourites, I'm actually going to say something about that. So something I forgot to mention, but I feel like I should just kind of plant in there. As much as I hate to encourage the cannibal ring conspiracy.
How dare you?
This episode introduces, kind of subtly, an interesting concept, which is the idea of killers being able to recognize one another and see each other and kind of see... It's the first real example of, can they see something in one another? Is, like... It's hard to explain, but there's some kind of concept there that is being planted, which is the idea of if you have some kind of intrinsic violence or sadism, that it's visible to others who are the same as you. And that's an interesting concept they've introduced. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
More cannibals for Hannibal's cannibals.
Maybe. Originally, my favourite quote was a Bedelia quote, but I kind of mentioned it about their conversation, so I'm going to leave that. All I keep talking about is Bedelia conversations. I'm going to do it for favourite moment as well. So, for favourite quote, what I'm actually going to say is it's Hannibal and Will talking to each other. So, Hannibal says, every life is a piece of music. Like music, we are finite events, unique arrangements, sometimes harmonious, sometimes dissonant. And Will responds like a little bitch, sometimes not worth hearing again. Such a little bitch.
That is funny.
It's such a fucking Will thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like such a Will thing to say.
My favourite moment is Hannibal and Bedelia discussing friendship and the concept of friendship, and Hannibal realising that he's looking for someone who is worthy of his friendship.
Yes.
Worthy of his friendship, though.
Yeah.
Well, he's a god, isn't he?
True.
Or thinks of himself as a god.
Yeah, Hannibal and God. It's a complicated relationship. But he's also the devil, so which is it?
Dang. All the same. All for one for all.
Well, maybe. That's new. My next episode prediction is that Dr. Hannibal Lecter will go to Burger King. That's all.
We're boycotting Burger King, god damn it.
This was like
2013.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm gonna do my sign off with my teaser for the next episode. It's less punny. It's a little punny, less so. I'd definitely say this is one of the vaguer ones because the next episode is complicated.
Oh.
Yeah.
So my sign off is we're about due for some more daddy-daughter bonding time. And some old friends make some unexpected appearances. Fate and Circumstance is an independent podcast brought to you by Felix Fanfaron Fern, Melisa Suzan, and Shaira Bambi. You can find and follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at HannibalPod. We are fans of the show NBC's Hannibal and do not own the rights to any of the materials discussed, merely appreciators. The music used in this podcast is Tchaikovsky's Op. No. 40 Waltz by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Thanks for listening.